So, since the USA tends to be suffering from an actor problem right now, we have an actor problem in the courtroom, we have an actor problem in government, we have an actor problem in the Congress, we have egotistical actor problem in with judges and lawyers and all these professions that have prided themselves on a very high standard of quality with strict rules and strict ethics and strict professional conduct. We actually have an actor problem in those areas. So I figured, why not teach you how to recognize a bad actor? And so a couple of different things that you can look at. And if you look at psychological warfare, if you look at trolls and all of that kind of stuff, basically they're bad actors. They're engaging in this same kind of behavior. And so once you recognize what a bad actor looks like, you'll be able to recognize it from a cyber point of view all the way through to all the different professions. And hopefully each professional in your profession will stand up and start calling the others out. First thing about a bad actor, they're loud and obnoxious. It used to be that whenever you have a cast, whoever is your loudest and most obnoxious was usually the least talented, and they were trying to make up for the fact that they had no talent by acting loud and obnoxious, as though their volume of their voice would somehow make up for the fact that they have no skills whatsoever. And show business, real theater show business, not the ones you see that, reality TV that created, this standard of mediocrity that we've all kind of accepted. And, that we tend to say that whoever is the most character-driven is the person who's going to win. No, I'm talking about real theater arts that, has been kind of shoveled into the back alleys, has been pushed into, off Broadway, where people are still doing this field of work at their own expense, mostly as martyrs, having to take on the responsibility of their own finances and their own time in order to create these things. But you have these bad actors. You usually see them in community theaters where everybody gets to participate. And oh my gosh, if you're in a community theater and you had to deal with these actors, they tend to think just because they're loud and obnoxious and that they think that they're full of themselves, that you're going to bow down to them and worship them, when really they're not talented. So that's one good sign. And so if you call them out on their behavior, they usually do these covert threats where they seem to think that they're much more powerful than what they are just because they're an actor. And so they'll talk down to you like you and them, or they and them, and they'll refer to you as though you're just a second-class citizen, basically. When you're dealing with someone like that, you know that you're dealing with an egotistical actor who has absolutely no talent. Attempt to dominate. Again, whenever they have this high value opinion of themselves, they tend to think that they are above the rules, whether it's the equity rules of actors. I've had to deal with this before. I had equity actors who happened to become equity just because they were in a show that everybody was granted equity status. They didn't really earn it. And so when you have actors like that, they were obnoxious, let me tell you. So they had refused to, they did the show, it was like 4 of them. We did this whole season, and at the end it was just the 4. They refused to memorize their script. They wanted to have their music, it was a musical, on stage. Now, anybody who's worked in theater knows that's a no-no. You memorize. If you're an actor, you're memorizing your script. You do not have scripts on stage. But they insisted upon it. And when the director called, when people called them out, they overturned the trash can on people's cars. They acted like children. Yes, actors act like children. And so if you're not used to this childish behavior, you may not understand how to deal with this, because it might just be so outside of your realm of reality that your brain might just shut it out and say, oh no, it doesn't really exist. But egotistical actors act like little children. They're used to getting their way. They have the director who basically fawns all over them. They have the producer, especially if the producer is a family member and that's how they got the lead role. They will act like actors. And so then you're stuck dealing with these people who are acting like actors, act like they're above the rules, act like they're above the law, act like the whole world revolves around them. This is a problem that that you're dealing with egotistical actors, is that pompous attitude that they are above everybody else. And you're going to find it in all these different areas. And for whatever reason, here in the United States, instead of enforcing our rule of law instead of holding these people to their positions of power and authority and responsibility and the professional conduct that's responsible that they're responsible to uphold. We have allowed them to get away with everything. That is a sign that we have egotistical actors running our entire government system right now. Other ways you can identify them, they love to do fear-mongering. Of course, fear-mongering is the greatest way to motivate people into action. If people were fearful, if you can triangulate, which is number 6, if you can triangulate is whenever, think of like this bullying group at school, and you have like this group of mean kids, and they decide that they're going to target this person as, you know, their victim. And so they're going to triangulate. They're going to make up all these stories, and they're going to get the whole entire school to be against that person. That's triangulation. Very effective if you want to drive somebody out. So if you have like a group and you want to drive someone out, you can triangulate, and it will force them out of the group. And that's the thing, they work in groups. Very rarely do you see anyone who is working beside themselves, you know, by themselves. It's the power is in the groups. And then we have, they lie. They love to frame the story and to turn themselves into a victim. And so when you recognize these things of actors in the professional world, in the theater world, in a world that most people are not used to dealing with, a bunch of kids, then whenever you see it in real life, you're like, holy crap, what in the world's going on? So in the courtroom, we have the egotistical actors who have manipulated the court systems. They manipulate the rule of law, manipulate the, oh my goodness, they do all kinds of things. And if you look at my podcast from previously, it gives you like the whole rundown. They move the goalposts as you make somebody to react emotionally. If you're acting emotionally, you're reacting emotionally, you're no longer rationally thinking. And so if you get everybody just responding emotionally all the time at this heightened level, people are no longer thinking and using their common sense anymore. If they did, they would be able to see through all of this. But that's the key. If you're going to gaslight a nation, or if you're going to create this illusion of this power that you don't really possess, because, you know, our U.S. Constitution created a balance of power, and it gave the people fourth branch power, and it gave us the ability to be the ethical overseers of all the other branches. But if you want people to forget that power, and you want them to think that the only power they have is their vote, then what you would do is you would create this whole entire illusion heightened up with the emotion, and you would hide the fact that you're being emotional and creating this illusion of emotions by using things like fact, not feeling as your buzzwords. You can do a lot of things. You can get away with a lot of the illusion play by just stating what you're doing and then pretending that it's not you. Point your finger at somebody else and accuse them of it. That's how you get away with it. And so it's a dangerous thing to do this illusion play, because when people find out that you are the one who's been tricking them the entire time, especially if you're doing it to scam them out of power and money, they will turn on you. So for the Tea Party faction of the 1%, who replaced the real Republicans with corrupt lawyers who defend the fraudulent investors and get them off free of charges, and the coach bot reality stars, and the vulture capitalists of religion, for you guys who have removed the people who used to belong in the Republican Party, have displaced them all and replaced it instead with this idea of a South redneck, or a redneck Rambo, if you would, this Honey Boo Boo or Duck Dynasty character, in order to create a civil war, and also to use carpetbaggers in order to manipulate the race, the different race structures, and to accuse other people of doing exactly what you've been doing this whole time. In fact, you couldn't even form had it not been for Obama being a black president. The whole fact that you were able to put together a party is the fact that he was black and you had a problem with it, and you capitalized on that racism in the United States. When people start seeing through that,
Mommy, look,
when they start recognizing that egotistical actors...
Mommy, that's when I watered it.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't need that anyways. Then we get to see what we call in theater the propaganda side effect.
Mommy,
yes.
tell them I have.
Yeah, you just deleted my whole board. That's okay.
Number.
Am I worried? No, because I know, I guess, spoilers. I know what's coming. And, you know, you can't get away with this. You can't get away with defrauding people for so long, especially 3 years or even longer than that. I mean, 1960s whenever the whole corporate monarchy started. So we're talking 30 years? We are going to start seeing people, because now we're peaked in at trend cycles. When everybody starts doing it, that's when the trend starts going away and we revert to another direction. We're there. And so this idea that egotistical actors of the 1% is basically screwing over Americans.
Hey, Mommy, watch
are not
this.
going to be able to get away with it much longer.
Mommy, do you want to watch this? First, I